My name is Stephen Belton, and I will be discussing population. Reports have been calculated over the past years, and much debate have surrounded the population of our world. Poverty, consumption, and birth control are some of the highly debated issues. The health of women and children play a role in our world's population as well. Migration and reproduction health are also things that you can think about when it comes to the world's population. First, I'm going to talk to you about the International Conference on Population and Development. On September 1994, 179 delegates of the United Nations gathered in Cairo, Egypt, at the International Conference of Population and Development. Here, they reached a bold and sweeping plan to stabilize gender equality and permit women to have the right to control and manage their own lives. A major achievement of the Cairo Conference was to change the worldview of the population issue. At the conference, they pointed out the fact the real change in demographic patterns could only occur through changes in women's lives. Such things as increase in women's access to education, cash, and credit. Two-thirds of the world's illiterate people are women. Studies show with better education, an increase of women's stature in the family and community, birth rates decline. 95% of growth in population will occur in the developing world, increasing from the current 5 to 6 billion to the 8 to 12 billion by 2100. Next, I will discuss population and poverty. 2.8 billion people still struggle to survive on less than $2 a day. Poverty is caused by poor health, gender inequality, and rapid population growth, according to the Text, Technology, and Society. Enabling people to have fewer children helps stimulate development and reduce poverty, both in individual households and societies. Rapid population growth are contributed to environmental stress, uncontrolled urbanization, and rural and urban poverty. Many believe there is a link between population and poverty, but could war or improper distribution of education, food, and employment be the case? As time goes on, we are becoming more aware of the population issue, and we are trying to adapt to the growth we have every year. Next is resources and consumption. Overconsumption rates and rapid population growth are taking their toll on the environment. More people are using more resources with more intensity and leaving a bigger footprint on the earth than ever before. Farmers, loggers, and developers have cleared about half the world's original forests. 500 million people live in countries defined as water-stressed. By 2025, that figure is expected to be between 2.4 billion and 3.4 billion. Fast-growing poor population often have no other option but to exploit their local environment to meet their needs for food and fuel. These are some of the things that contribute to our fast consumption rate, and it's going to affect the way we live in the future. Next is migration and urbanization. Due to continued rural and urban migration, the number of people living in cities is growing twice as fast as total population growth. A majority of the world's people will be living in cities by 2007. By 2030, all regions will have urban majorities. Mega cities of 10 million or more and small, medium-sized cities are going to severely be tested of the limits. The ICPD recognized that people move within countries in response to inadequate distribution of resources, services, and opportunities. Providing social services, including reproductive health care in poor urban areas, is an essential policy response and is meeting the needs of underserved rural communities. There were 175 million international migration. In 1994, only one-fifth had done so. Some countries had tightened borders while others aimed to better integrate migrants. Many countries favor greater coordination of migration policies, but the subject remains a sensitive one. The next is women's empowerment. Gender equality and women's empowerment were at the heart of the ICPD vision, strongly linked to reproductive health and rights. Since 1994, more than half of all countries have adopted national legislation on women's rights. Progress has been uneven. Many countries have introduced laws on gender-based violence, but these are often not enforced. Only 28 countries have increased women's political participation. Fewer than half of all countries have initiatives in place to educate their own and their partners about their reproductive health. Efforts promoting women's advancement are susceptible to budget cuts. Only 42 countries were able to increase public spending on schools, and only 16 had increased the number of girls' secondary schools. Priority for improving women's status include eliminating gender gaps in educating, access to sexual and reproductive health, investigating infrastructure, and ease women's role in government, reducing violence against women and girls. Okay, next is reproductive health and family planning. Reproductive and sexual health account for 1/5 of the worldwide burden of illness and death among women and of reproductive age. The ICPD broad concept of reproductive health and rights, including family planning and sexual health, continues to gain support. Family planning enables individuals and couples to determine the number of spacing of their children, a recognized basic human right. Some 201 million women, especially in the poorest countries, still have an unmet need for effective contraception. Meeting their needs would cost about $3.9 billion a year and prevent 23 million unplanned births, 22 million induced abortions, and 142,000 pregnancy-related deaths, and 1.4 million infant deaths. Many countries have reoriented services and stepped up training to improve quality, expand family planning method choices, and better meet client needs and desires. Efforts have been made to integrate treatment of sexually transmitted infections and other services, and to involve men more in protecting their own and their partner's reproductive health. Next is maternal health. Poverty dramatically increases a woman's chance of dying. The lifetime risk of a woman dying from pregnancy or during childbirth in West Africa is 1 in 12. In developed regions, the comparable risk is 1 in 4,000. Most maternal deaths stem from problems that are treatable but hard to detect. Reducing deaths requires expanded access to skilled attendants of delivery.